Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where December is fast approaching, and December is known for two things. One, Star Wars, that's a recent development, but also, of course, the very strong, legitimate beginning of awards season. In some ways, awards season starts when the movies are released at the beginning of the fall mostly, but this is when like the Golden Globe nominations come out and movies start to get some genuine traction. But the first story is the bigger one, and that's, of course, Star Wars. And December has very much become the month of the Force, although May the 4th is the day of Star Wars, of course. But December is really becoming Star Wars country, and Disney should be very proud of that indeed. They're nervously anticipating the release of Rogue One, but they got some very good news on midnight on Sunday when tickets went on sale here in the United States. It's predicted to open with 100 to 140 million. That's very strong. It's about 100 million behind The Force Awakens, but that was The Force Awakens. It was the return of Star Wars after a long drought, and also it was an episode, not a standalone story or a prequel. Well, yes, prequels are a dirty word in the Star Wars universe, thanks to George Lucas. But The Force Awakens was obviously a very different type of movie, and it featured Han Solo, which we have a new Han Solo. I was going to say that'll never happen again. But it also had the return of old favorites, or at least the promise of return of old favorites. They were a little light on that, but Luke Skywalker did show up at the end. But anyway, I guess everybody gets their own movie in the new trilogy. Han Solo the first one, Luke Skywalker the second, Princess Leia or Billy D. Williams, Lando for the last one. But anyway, so The Force Awakens is the biggest opening ever for December with 247 million. Amazing! Followed by The Hobbit with 84.6. What a difference there, the first Hobbit. So Rogue One would come like right there in the middle. Then I Am Legend at 77.2. So you can see this is an easy month for Star Wars to dominate. The bar's pretty low. But they have Star Wars Episode 8 coming up the next December, 2017. But in 2018, Star Wars will move to summer for May with Han Solo, which I think, I could understand wanting to release the Han Solo movie as a summer release, see how that does. The prequels were summer releases, and they did quite well. But I wouldn't give up December. I wouldn't allow another studio to move in there because Fantastic Beasts 2 will be coming out in November 2018. I wouldn't give it to them. Make Warner Brothers work for their money. But anyway, when Rogue One tickets went on sale at midnight on Sunday, Fandango hasn't given us an actual number, but they said we sold hundreds of thousands of tickets. They were like, woohoo! And it's 76% of sales. That's a great number, to say that 76% of ticket purchases on Fandango right now are for Rogue One. But at the same time, what the heck else would anybody be buying, right? 5% are for Moana, but that's already been out for a whole 5-day weekend, and there's no movies for like 2 weeks. So I don't know what else anybody would be buying tickets for, really, quite frankly. So, it's good. Woo, you want to check that box, but I don't think it's a guaranteed situation for Rogue One yet. They did debut the waiting room on Fandango. I wanted to see how the ticket sales were doing, so I experienced it for myself. The first time I checked, it was just a 1-minute wait, but then it went to an hour, which is an awfully long time to keep an app up on your phone. It actually reminded me shades of San Diego Comic-Con. I was like, thank you for sharing this frustrating experience with, mainstream audiences. They too get to see what it's like to be stuck in a waiting room. Although this one did not crash, and it seemed, I didn't stay on for an hour because I just wanted to check to see how long the wait was. But did anyone have like a Fandango waiting room horror story? There are tickets available, but Thursday night went like that, so that's good. Disney is said to be, I love this quote, Disney is said to be giddy and surprised. They were like, people want to see this, what? So that shows me that their internal tracking maybe isn't quite as strong as the industry's public tracking. But they're still not taking any chances. They're doing a huge push. It's very nicely set up, actually, just like Doctor Strange had like a 2-week run-up thanks to Halloween because of Thanksgiving, and that there's always a lull historically after Thanksgiving. They basically have 2 weeks to just, ram Rogue One down your throat and be like, if you don't go, you're not a real movie fan. I was going to say an American, but of course this is a global business these days, and they need everyone to go the world over. But I'm interested, they announced today a big push with People magazine, which I think is a very odd partner for Star Wars. It makes me feel that they really want to get the female viewer in there. I think Kathleen Kennedy's like, I'm giving you, female leads in Star Wars. You ladies got to represent at the box office. You got to back me up for this business decision. And Rogue One overall is quite the gamble for Kathleen Kennedy. It's interesting. I would say that it's very similar to J.K. Rowling's gamble with Fantastic Beasts, and that they're both creating these spin-off movies that have very little to do with the main thoroughfare of films, the episodes and the Harry Potter films, but they're promising you a big bad, right? Rogue One has Darth Vader, and Fantastic Beasts has Grindelwald. So it'll be curious, and also, they're being a little bit, they're pushing the edge of the envelope with who is the focal point of these spin-offs. So big gambles by two, very strong female creatives in the industry, and it'll be curious to see how it turns out. Fantastic Beasts isn't a huge hit, but it's a very, very strong hit. So I think J.K. Rowling can feel good about the first brick that she's laid. And Kathleen Kennedy, of course, did quite well with The Force Awakens, but now she's got to see if that was lightning in a bottle, or if she's Zeus over there at the Lucasfilm. But I'm curious, did you buy tickets for Rogue One, and if so, on what date? And if you didn't buy them, what are you waiting for? All right, so that's the first story of the day. Now we have two award stories, as I said, award season starts to take shape. The first is about the Gotham Awards, which were held last night, and they're not a huge influence on the major awards like the Oscars and the Golden Globes, SAG Awards, etc. But if you do really well at the Gotham Awards, you can probably jump to the mainstream awards, right? Gotham is for independent film. And you'll be very happy to hear, as you might have already, that Moonlight was the big winner last night. It took home Best Feature, Audience Award, Screenplay, and it's a little bit like Beasts of Southern Wild, which also did very well at the Gotham Awards, and then of course went on to get nominations, I believe Director, and also Quvenzhané Wallis for Supporting Actress. So this is a very good sign for Moonlight to at least get some nominations. Beasts of the Southern Wild wasn't a big winner, but at least it was there. It was represented, and everybody associated with it got to go to the ceremonies and got that publicity. Also, interestingly, Casey Affleck was named Best Actor for Manchester by the Sea. Now, this is very interesting because recently one of you sent me an article about his previous, controversy over being accused of sexual harassment on a film that he was making. The one with Joaquin Phoenix. I'm Still Here. He's been accused of, aggressively going after one of the women who worked on the film. Really, really salacious stuff. And that's really haunted his career. And so that's one of the reasons I think you don't see Casey Affleck really, going as far as one might think, considering his talent. So when that person sent me that article, I was like, this is why Casey Affleck will never win and probably will never even be nominated. Because, the person said, well, why does Nate Parker suffer but Casey Affleck does not? And that's an interesting question because what do you know? Here he gets a Best Actor, not only nomination, but win. This is the Gotham Awards, though. I think they're going to be a little bit, not quite as political as the Oscars and the Golden Globes, but it's a very nice thing for him. And when they run those ads, try to get people to vote for the film, now they can say Casey Affleck, winner, Best Actor, Gotham Awards. And everybody loves to get on, the train when it leaves the station. So that's some genuine momentum for him. So I guess the moral of the story is don't give up, Nate Parker. I think you're just one Oprah special away from maybe getting your career back. Casey Affleck never apologized, but also his situation was never as public as Nate Parker's. He's actually never addressed it publicly, I believe. All right, so that's the second story of the day. The third story is the Annie Awards, and that's also going to lead us into our viewer question, which is also about the Oscar race this year for animation. But anyway, the Annie Awards were announced yesterday, and Zootopia and Kubo led the nominations. Very interesting. Moana, of course, also got a number of nominations, and Your Name and the Red Turtle were also represented. Interestingly, though, Inner Workings, the best short I've seen this year, the best animated short I've seen this year from Disney Animation, didn't get a nomination. That stupid Piper thing from Pixar about the bird on the beach. I mean, it looked real, but I mean, I think the last I checked, they have technical awards to say that's good, but it's supposed to be the whole package. I don't know. I mean, animation's surprisingly political. And then interesting, Sausage Party only got one nomination for editorial, so that doesn't bode well for Sausage Party's awards chances, even though they've been pushing so hard. But I think that it's interesting that Zootopia and Kubo are the frontrunners. But then again, Moana did just come out. This isn't like saying it's a done deal as to what's going to do well at the Golden Globes and the Oscars, because the Annie Awards have often differed from what walks away with the Oscar ultimately at the end. For instance, 2014, How to Train Your Dragon 2 won the Annie Award for Best Feature, but yet Big Hero 6 took home the Oscar. 2012, Wreck-It Ralph, but the Oscar went to Brave. 2010, How to Train Your Dragon again, but the Oscar went to Toy Story 3. 2008, Kung Fu Panda. Boy, the Annie Awards sure like DreamWorks, but the Oscar went to WALL-E. I think WALL-E is the better film over Kung Fu Panda, and I love both, but WALL-E I think is really amazing. And then in 2006, for some reason, Cars won, but Happy Feet ultimately got the Oscar. I think it's interesting. You can see that like the more the easier softball crowd pleaser is what ends up taking the Oscar in many chances, while I think a little bit more of the adventurous film takes the Annie. So that doesn't bode well for Zootopia and Kubo versus Moana. But it's still, it's interesting to see the awards landscape start to take shape in what's a very broad category. Now that leads me to the viewer question from Great Broadway Fan. Great Broadway Fan says, "Hey there, Grace. Great Broadway Fan here with another question. This time it's about the upcoming Academy Awards, specifically the Best Animated Feature category. Do you think that Disney has accidentally/unintentionally shot themselves in the foot by releasing two animated movies in the same year? Disney has never had this problem before, but they have both Zootopia and Moana up for nominations this year. I've come up with 3 scenarios that I think could happen on Oscar night. 1. Both Zootopia and Moana are nominated, but only one wins. 2. The Academy only nominates one of the two and gives the Oscar to that film. I don't see Moana or Zootopia being shut out. That would be shocking. All right, and then number 3, both Zootopia and Moana are nominated, but they cancel each other out and another animated film wins. The only other movies I could see taking the Oscar for are Secret Life of Pets, Finding Dory, or Sing. And then he says, I don't think that Trolls, Storks, Kubo, or Sausage Party will even get nominated. I'm curious, what do you think, Grace? What animated movies are you rooting for? And what do you think any of the potential scenarios, which of these potential scenarios could play out? Thank you so much. I love your show, and I still watch you every day. Luke. Thank you, Luke. I love talking movies with Luke, frequent BTT commentator down below. As for your question, Luke, I think that both will be nominated, and I think one will probably win. As you can see from that list that I just went over, the Academy really likes Disney. I don't even know how much they actually like Disney, but they respect Disney, and since I really suspect they don't watch these movies when they vote, they just vote for Disney or Pixar. So, and I don't know about Finding Dory. As you can see, that didn't really lead the nominations. I'm really rooting for Zootopia, but for some reason, I just feel that Moana could end up taking it because, again, I think Zootopia is a real, zany, brainy, like really strong editorial commentary or social commentary kind of film, whereas Moana is a more traditional, representing a culture, no love interest, a princess of color, and so I can just see the Academy voters being like, I'd like to see that on the list of best animated features for the Academy Awards that have won. So I have a real strong feeling that Moana is going to win, but I think that Zootopia should. However, I wouldn't count out Kubo. I think that this Annie Awards situation is very encouraging, and I think this might be Leica's year, finally. Maybe the Academy will take pity on the company, because I don't know how much longer they can stick around with both a shrinking box office and no frickin' Oscars, right? They need to get on the board. So this could be a great year for Kubo. It might, Leica might finally get it, and I see Kubo definitely being nominated. I don't see Trolls or Storks being nominated, but I wouldn't, Sausage Party, they're doing a very strong push, as we've discussed before. Megan Ellison, who is a producer on that, has a very strong connection with the awards circuit, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sausage Party got a nomination for Best Animated Feature. I don't think it's going to win, but I would vote for it, actually. I had problems with how inappropriate it was, as you might recall from my review, and I also think it ended up being inappropriate just for the sake of being inappropriate. I don't really think it was necessary, but I really respected it, especially the first third of the film. I thought it was really bold and brave, and I also like that they created an adult animated movie without trying to, sucker kids into going to see it. They were like, we're an R-rated animated movie, we admit to it, we're for adults only, let's do this. And so I thought that was great. Also, there was some great voice work in Sausage Party. So I think Sausage Party is actually deserving of a nomination, and I'd like to see that happen. But We'll see. All right, so anyway, that's today's morning movie news. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm curious, what do you think of the Rogue One ticket situation? What do you think of the Moonlight doing so well at the Gotham Awards and Casey Affleck winning Best Actor? And also, how do you feel about the whole animation situation for award season, from the Annie Awards to the upcoming Golden Globes, and of course that Best Animated Feature Oscar. All right, thank you also so much for your question, Luke, and I'd be interested to hear if you think any of Luke's proposed scenarios might pan out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you can check out some other videos right now.